you run with your hands out like this, it'll be hard for people to pass ya. Gotcha! It's Azumanga Daioh!
I love that show!
Azumanga Daioh is my favorite manga series and anime of all time. It's a surreal slice-of-life show that follows 6 girls as they go through high school. I bought the omnibus from Barnes & Noble back in 2007, though the series was written from 1999 to 2002. This was the first book I ever bought with my own money, and the first manga series that I ever owned. Prior to that, I was just reading whatever I could find at the library. I was in a small rural town, so all we had was Pokemon and Fruit Basket. But nostalgia is not the only reason I'm making this video. Azumanga Daioh certainly has a following. The entire series is actually available on YouTube, and there's still a devout fan base after all this time. But it's not a series that really took off in America, and as sad as it makes me, I can see why. There's a lot of wish fulfillment in anime for people. Who doesn't want to fight like a badass, or have a harem of people obsessed with you, or have the ability to kill people with a book, or have gorgeous hair that goes all the way down to your ankles? Azumanga Daioh is just about 6 girls going to school. Let's rip this apart. Even the supporting cast of Azumanga is hilarious to watch. The main cluster of people we follow around is well balanced in terms of spear carriers, zany personalities, and straight characters. Tomo Takino is the most annoying person I have ever seen in an anime. Seriously, she's right up there with Samomo, Tsukune, and Meowth.
When it comes to being clever, I'll be anyone hands down! The Wildcat High School Girl!
But Tomo's obnoxiousness is tempered by her other friends. And even with all the screaming, she's really funny. She's the embodiment of a classmate who is so desperate for a specific identity when they're young that they completely shoot themselves in the foot.
Nature is full of struggle and anguish. Most of it self-inflicted.
But you didn't read my palms or anything.
I don't need to.
It's hilarious watching her fall on her face. Tomo is reminiscent of Finn Wolfhard, Bill Hader, Richie Tozer from It. Even when Tomo feels bad that she's hurt someone's feelings, or she's upset about something, her instinct is to crack a joke. She's extremely competitive with some of her peers, even when she's not at all equipped to challenge them. We find out in Azumanga Daioh supplementary lessons that Tomo's father is a lot like her, and he embarrasses her. I think the most poignant thing about Tomo is she wants to be distinct, and she tries so hard to do so that she doesn't realize how unique she actually is. While her personality certainly irritates her friends and teachers from time to time, Tomo is capable of great things when she applies herself. She's probably one of the most relatable characters in the series, because even if you weren't the student who smacked your teacher in the face with a lunch tray, going through an identity crisis in high school is why that time of your life feels so tumultuous. What ultimately grounds Tomo are the people around her, and by the end of the series, she knows who she is and what she wants to do about it.
So, there you go. You not coming was really a good thing.
Koyomi Mizuhara is Tomo's oldest friend, and their dynamic is a staple of humor, tension, and even heart throughout the series. Yomi is a complete foil to Tomo. She's far more calm, mature, and rational than most of her friends. Her biggest running gag or joke, though whether or not it's funny depends on your sense of humor, has to do with her weight. Yomi is constantly dieting. The only person who picks on her for her weight, or even mentions it, is Tomo. And that seems to hinge on Yomi's obsession, rather than Tomo actually thinking there's something wrong with the way that Yomi looks.
Are you okay? Yomi! Run! It's a diet! Shut up or run!
Tomo is the only person who manages to bring out the immature, emotional side of Yomi, which causes them to bicker like sisters. Yomi is incredibly sarcastic, and Tomo often receives the brunt of it. That said, they do care for each other. Tomo compliments Yomi often for her figure and how smart she is. And hey, Toyomi is a really popular Yuri coupling within the fandom. I've seen a lot of people laud this one above all others, so whoop-a-doop-doo, internet, have fun. Sakaki is tall, athletic, and quiet. Her whole shtick is that everyone around her thinks she's cool, and she's this mysterious, stoic girl who sits in the back of the classroom. But would you believe that she loves cats?
Wait!
Cool people can't like cute things. Sakaki loves stuffed animals, stickers, and she's very protective of Chiyo-chan, a character we'll talk about in a minute. What I like about Sakaki's obsession with cats is that every cat she comes into contact with absolutely hates her. It's never clear why. She's nothing but patient and kind, but a huge plot point is that an entire species just hates her. There are even funnier moments in the comics with this, and all the other characters in the series think that Sakaki is this badass because she's coming to school with cuts and bruises, and they assume she's been in fights. She's a great character, and I sympathize with her feeling out of place way more in high school than I did with that chick from Tall Girl, because this series actually earns each heartstring that it tugs out of my chest cavity. Suck it, Jody. Kagura is the least developed of the main cast at the start, but the way Azuma wove her into the story is seamless, and she ends up being a worthwhile addition to the group. Kagura begins as another athletic girl who is viewed as a rival to Sakaki. She's in a different homeroom from the rest of the cast until she's brought in junior year by their teacher, a move that most classmates theorize is an attempt to improve their chances for the sports festival. What I love about Kagura when she formally introduces herself to Sakaki is that she comes right out and jokes that they're rivals, and everyone is expecting them to compete. Sakaki couldn't give less of a shit about this, which further fleshes out her soft side. The best part is Kagura laughs it off because it doesn't really matter to her either, and by doing this, she gives herself the room to grow beyond the archetype she was assigned at the beginning. She's not a second-rate Sakaki. Her personality blends in well with the herd. She can be just as high-strung as Tomo, just as sarcastic as Yomi, and even has a hidden soft side like Sakaki.
Don't be discouraged. You've still got others, right? But this was supposed to be my safety net.
But outside of that, she manages to become a rounded character with her own interests and insecurities. One of Kagura's biggest struggles is that she's too hard on herself. And with her over-the-top involvement in running and swimming, it's implied that her parents are hard on her too. She's not the best student, so she has to set herself apart from her peers athletically instead. Kagura's happiest with her friends. I appreciate her arc portraying a character who gains friends as high school goes on, and ends up enjoying the race rather than just focusing on crossing the finish line at graduation. I've seen a lot of people say that Chiyomi-hama, or Chiyo-chan, is the main character of the series. If that's true, I love that this protagonist isn't relatable at all. To me, underbaked protagonists that exist so the reader can step into the world and walk around suck. Chiyo-chan is a 10-year-old child prodigy who has skipped middle school and gone straight to high school. I remember first reading the manga and thinking she was never going to be more than a gimmick, but her inclusion in the group honestly helps tie all of the other personalities together. Chiyo-chan is smart like Yomi, and is responsible for her age, but she's still young and naive enough to fit in with the more immature members of the cast. Tomo gets a lot of mileage out of teasing Chiyo-chan. Her relationship with Sakaki is one of my favorites in the series. I wish the pair was more popular within the fandom. Sakaki is a great big sister for Chiyo, and Chiyo-chan's respect and appreciation for Sakaki gives her a chance to come out of her shell throughout the series, preventing her from being a one-note, dark and brooding teenager. Chiyo-chan's kindness is another trait worth noting. She is sweet and she cares deeply for her friends. She's also the perfect person to entertain the fantasies of the final member of the group.
Miss Kasuga.
Ayuma Kasuga is my favorite of the 6 girls, hands down. Nicknamed Osaka after transferring from the city, much to her dismay, thanks Tomo. Osaka is a subdued daydreamer who says exactly what she's thinking. In the anime, she has a southern accent, and initially people can't stop commenting on the way she pronounces certain words and doesn't behave like they expected someone from Osaka to behave. Ugh, I feel that. I say milk, windowsill, and crying when I talk way too fast, and kids are merciless when they know something makes you self-conscious. I was one of the quiet kids all throughout school, but not in a cool way like Sakaki. I was more like Osaka. I would be so lost in thought that people just kind of forgot about me. One of her running jokes is that so many people call her by her nickname that even teachers don't know or use her real name for rosters. Even with her strange thoughts and shyness, Osaka has a place in her friend group, and she does not take that for granted. She's just happy to be included and finds joy in small, or at times, bizarre things.
Chio-chan, I'm gonna teach you a great tactic. A great tactic? Ka-ching! If you run with your hands out like this, it'll be hard for people to pass ya. Gotcha! Ka-ching!
What's funny is she's smarter than a lot of people give her credit for. She knows a lot of random facts and things about marine biology, and she loves solving riddles. The majority of Osaka's struggles come from the fact that she's easily distracted, but when push comes to shove, she works hard and proves she has talents and hobbies that make her happy. I don't want to spoil too much of the series, but my favorite plot thread for Osaka is her involvement in a bread eating competition. She's so excited to finally participate, and then she gets hung up on which bread she should choose from the flavors they've included.
Shoot, I've only practiced with a sweet bean paste bread.
Oh my god, it hurts. I would absolutely ruin a competition for myself because of something like this. Even though Azumanga Daioh's main focus is a group of teenagers, there are a few teachers we should mention. The first character the entire series opens with is the homeroom teacher for Class 3, Miss Yukari. What's she like?
Do me a favor, stay right there!
Tanizaki Yukari is also an English teacher. To say she's unique as an educator is an understatement. Similar to Tomo, Yukari is not unintelligent, but she lacks motivation, and so a lot of people underestimate her abilities. She's incredibly competitive, high-strung, and prone to angry outbursts when challenged. Her least favorite student is Tomo, which is hilarious given how similar they are. In fact, that may be why Yukari is so annoyed by Tomo's antics, because she likely reminds her of herself when she was a teenager. Honestly, that would be torture. I can't imagine going into work every day and dealing with someone who is basically you at one of the most cringe-inducing times of our lives. The best thing about Yukari is that she isn't perfect. In fact, she's far from it. She's not the worst teacher in the school, but she's not out here with the goal of shaping young minds and encouraging them to seek out a bright future that's just around the corner.
Imagination.
She's honest to a fault with her students and has no problem bursting anyone's bubble, not even Chio-chan's. If I think back about any teachers and professors that I actually liked, they were a lot like Miss Yukari. They were upfront about the fact that they hated the administration, like that. I think it's no surprise that the main characters actually really like Miss Yukari. They genuinely ask her for advice and recognize that as crazy as she can act, she knows how to teach. She's fluent in another language, and like Tomo and Osaka, she's smarter than people first assume due to her boisterous personality. Is she selfish? Yeah. But hateful? Not at all.
Hey, what's so funny? Tell me. He told me that PE teachers are stupid where he comes from too. How about that? Shut up, you liar!
Tomo has Yomi, and Miss Yukari has Minamo Kurosawa. Their dysfunctional relationship mirrors that of their students, and it's another source of recurring gags that Azuma uses. Miss Kurosawa is the homeroom teacher of Class 5 and the school's PE instructor. Unlike Yukari, Kurosawa is popular with nearly every student, an obvious fact that Yukari is incredibly jealous of.
Anyone over here need a teacher they can easily talk to? Come on, don't be shy!
Minamo is kind and responsible, but similar to Yomi, she isn't above making mistakes and getting riled up because of her best friend's behavior. Yukari nicknamed her Niamo when they were kids, and the main cast ends up using that later on. She often impresses everyone with how put together she is. But a sore spot for her is the fact that despite being pretty, hardworking, and well-liked, she struggles to maintain romantic relationships. Needless to say, this is something Yukari teases her about often. Similar to Yomi, Niamo gets her jabs in where she can, and it becomes apparent throughout the series that her ability to handle Yukari's energy head-on, and Yukari's ability to roll with Niamo's hidden, sarcastic side, is why they're such great friends. I'm a big fan of ensemble casts because they're challenging to write, especially if you want each person to be distinct, not just sitting there filling space. What I think is so impressive is that Azuma managed to create characters that can be very similar at times, but their storylines don't feel redundant or stale. And when personalities clash or a character takes center stage, the series doesn't resort to just giving us a barrage of over-the-top caricatures. But there's one final character I want to talk about. Whether or not he's aged well is up for debate, I'll admit it. He's absurd, and one of my favorites. Mr. Kimura is the classic lit teacher, and he openly admits that the whole reason he became a high school teacher is, well...
Question! Mr. Kimura, why did you decide to become a high school teacher?
'Cause I like high school girls, that's why!
Yup, Kimura is an ephebophile, and he will do whatever he can to observe the female students at the school, either by scheduling his lunch break around PE and swim classes, or just following various students to and from class. And he's gainfully employed, with his job at the school, despite blatant sexual harassment, being one of the biggest mysteries for all of the students and faculty. It's so funny that Azuma created such an illogical premise and character for his story. How on earth did we not see all these red flags? The reason I can actually laugh at Mr. Kimura and enjoy him as a character is not because I also hide in bushes and watch girls at swim practice. This is a slightly confirmed, slightly unconfirmed bit of lore for the creation of Azumanga Daioh, but supposedly the author used to write for a magazine that had a much more adult approach to anime. When it was announced that he was going to be writing his own manga series, and it was going to be centered around 6 teenage girls in high school, there was an interesting response from his readers. When I say readers, I mean men. When the manga series finally came out, and it was tame, funny, and actually had a story,
Wasn't Hercules the name of that kid we were supposed to? Oh my god!
Mr. Kimura was included later to be a parody of those readers, and I think that's hilarious. There, I've spent a huge chunk of this video just talking about the cast. But is that it? Is that all this anime's got? No. This show is really beautiful, you guys. Having read the manga several times, I can confidently say that they captured Azuma's style of illustration and then elevated it. It's exciting to see panels from the comics in color. Wow, I sound old.
I love the young people.
Honestly, just seeing it all on the screen makes my heart feel warm and fuzzy. The anime has some great original shots that are both unique to the show and pay respect to Azuma's work. I also want to talk about the music for this show. I don't know what sort of soundtrack I was expecting or what kind of music I heard in my head while reading the manga, but each tune is just,
What is it? Oh, it's Mr. Kimura! What is he doing there?
Of course, it's my duty as a teacher.
Mr. Kimura, what's in that bag you got there?
Oh, these are empty cans.
Alright, let's have a victory parade! Yeah!
What's the victory?
amazing. Oranges and Lemons are the music duo responsible for the intro and credit themes. Yeah, I love Lemons. The soundtrack is really relaxing to listen to. It reminds me of the ambient music you'd hear in a game like Rune Factory Frontier or Harvest Moon. It's not like the show would have gone for a sound similar to Attack on Titan. But the music complements the overall mood of the show in its restraint and delicate tone. Azumanga Daioh is similar to sitcoms like Friends and Seinfeld. It's a show about nothing. It's just a gaggle of people with relatively low-stakes issues that are entertaining as hell to watch. Osaka gets hiccups, and that's a bigger plot point than it has any right to be, but I can't help but feel bad for her watching everyone trying to get rid of them. I didn't have the best time in high school. Honestly, I've blocked a lot of it out. But what I can remember is portrayed well by the series. There were classmates who were always messing around, you're dealing with insecurities about your appearance, you want to fit in at some point, and you even make new friends over the years who you may have competed with in the past. And you've got teachers dealing with their own problems, from their past and in the present. Azuma doesn't write about characters who are perfect by the end and ready for adulthood. I feel like this series reflects my time in college more than high school, but the final episode where everyone is moving on to the next chapter can be as emotional for me as Closing Time by Semisonic when I'm in a sentimental mood.
One last call for alcohol.
No, it's WRK, isn't it? Oh, my boss is singing Closing Time.
You can be excited for future prospects while missing the good old days. Feeling lost during that transition isn't something that goes away after high school either. And I think that's why I can come back to this series over and over again and still enjoy it. I don't know if that's motivating for you or not, but follow your dreams, kids. Follow them so life can crush them. Azumanga Daioh strikes the perfect balance between frustrating, comedic, and heartwarming moments. If you haven't had the chance to watch the anime or read the manga, and this video makes you want to, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this analysis, please let me know. Links to all of my things are below, and I can't wait to do another one of these. Dark Hearts of Love.